Hey guys, welcome to Tinfoil Hat live from the WiseWolf Gold and Silver Studio. That's right, you go to samtripoli.gold. Use the promo code Tinfoil, and you too can get in on the Press Metals game for as little as $50 a month. Very excited for this episode. I was blessed. I was very blessed to meet these guys when I did Hyenas in Dallas. They came and watched me battle the forces of evil. We connected. I did their show, and I met one of them. We'll get into how I met him. It's a really great story. Their show is called Skiba News Nation. Please welcome Jeremiah, Skiba, and Jake Grant. How are you guys?
Dude, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. And Jake.
Well, thanks for having both
Great
of you. It was a package deal. If I had one, I got to have both. I can't just split the boys up.
Yeah. Dude, so we saw you guys twice in Dallas. We saw you with Eddie, and that was a really weird show. I don't know if you remember it. So that was the first time that we saw you live. And
was that the one where Eddie went after the guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
And that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I don't know if I'm popping up big like Jake is.
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. But yeah, and then there was this guy, and I'll never forget it. He was getting in Eddie's face, and he was like, dude, I know the CIA, and I know how to get to Rogan. And I'm like, I wonder how many people.
You're totally right about that show.
So I got in his face like this, and then he got in your car, and I was like, like I just didn't want any more drama to happen.
No, you're totally right. And then he kept telling us he was CIA, and he would show us a badge, but he would cover all the information on it, so you couldn't see what the badge was actually for.
That was like Daffy Duck or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really crazy. That is, you come to some weird ass fucking shows. You came to the show where a guy, because we do Q&A at the end, and we'd let people ask questions, and this guy just came up and he was just babbling, and then he called us controlled opposition, and Eddie went fucking nuts. And I was like,
right.
I couldn't stop laughing.
Because y'all did what was it? It was like Shark Tank where you get to present your
yes.
So we were
Swarm Tank.
Swarm Tank, that's what it was. Yeah. And he was right behind me in line, and then I was like, Jake, go in front of me. This guy seems weird. And I kind of wanted to like talk to him. And it was just a weird vibe. So he kept going behind the next person. He wanted to be last, I guess, because Eddie kicked his ass. And it was pretty awesome.
I knew we were in trouble. That club is a really great club. It's not open anymore. And I knew it was in trouble when they stopped. Once you see a club get rid of security, it's like, oh, it's coming to an end. They're wonderful people. I love them. But I was like, oh, we're in trouble. And then I came back by myself, and it wasn't packed at all. And I had this black midget, like, just want to fight me. And it was hilarious. So I go, usually when I come to Dallas, it's packed out. I go to the club owner. They're like, I don't know what happened. He goes, oh, we didn't advertise you this week. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, it's over. Wrap it up. Call it a day. Before we get into everything, I wanted to give you guys a little bit an opportunity to promote. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
I'm Jeremiah Skiba. I'm the host of Skiba News Nation and the creator of TrutherCon. We do a yearly annual Truther conspiracy event, and I would love for Sam and his co-host to be there as VIP, and I do it with my co-host, Jake Grant. So take it away, Jake.
Oh, yeah. What's up, guys? Yeah, Jeremiah and I have been doing this since 2022. After Rob Skiba, Jeremiah's father, passed away, we kind of took it by the reins. This legacy of truth and, the research that he's done has changed millions of lives. And he was murdered in 2021 with the pandemic. And I worked for Rob for several years. We go way back kind of in my early alt media conspiracy podcasting days. And so it was just like a natural fit. Jeremiah and I came together. And so that's kind of what the show was born out of. And yeah, man, we're really, really excited about this conference. TrutherCon is going to be on the same stage that Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack performed on, So, we're trying to make like a forum for a lot of different researchers and presenters and people to, get together and and also we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have a comedy night, so it's gonna be pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
last year we had music and it was just so like not really the right vibe. And I was like, what goes well with, conspiracies and truth and stuff? And then I was thinking about it and I was like, comedy, because everybody wants to laugh after being told that Helen Keller was a fraud or that 9/11 was an inside job. You get all depressed and it's like you want to laugh, And
That's
so
great.
No, it's great. Again, we'll make it happen. As long as my schedule's open, I'll be there. I love coming to Dallas, even though Dallas doesn't seem to want to come and see me. Dallas is like El Paso's kind of like that, but I understand El Paso. But everywhere else in Texas, I crush. It is just like very weird that Dallas is just a weird town. Well, it is Dallas because you go to Fort Worth and it's freaking fire. And you go to Dallas, and you're like, what's going on in Dallas right now that nobody wants to come see well-crafted, multi-layered dick jokes? It's just a very weird thing. So we'll do it. I love those truther cons. I love those conspiracy conventions. I love doing them, so I'm excited that you guys will have me out. So let's get into, real quick, I just want to say, everybody in Austin, you guys are amazing. Thank you to everybody that came out to watch the specials for Gas Digital. Like everybody got standing O's. It just felt so good. You always wonder, will I pack it out? I've only shot I pretty much have shot my well-produced specials in LA. So it was cool to see it done there. And we go hard in the paint, so we'll see how this goes. I'm very excited. It was a fire set. I got the gig with Uncle Laser. He's a good guy. So, blessing. So I just want to get that out of the way. So basically, you contacted me through a series of Instagram messages, or I was tagged. I don't know, but you had made a video about the Fittest Flat Earther, and this is a guy that has been, disparaging my name a ton of times, trying to. I don't even know what he's saying. If I knew what he was saying, I could have a discussion with him. I've invited the Fittest Flat Earther on the show. He's turned it down every fucking time. And it's just like, if you really believe what you're saying, which you're slandering my name, and if I was a litigious person, which I am not, because I hate court, I'd sue you because you're just lying about me. And some of them are wonderful things to say. Like I'm like Francis Bacon. I mean, like I wish I was that.
Well, in his world, nobody dies. And so when we created Skiba News Nation, we didn't know it was going to be a show or anything, but your name was like the top person that we wanted to have on. So it was a blessing to have you on. But yeah, I think that's the first time where you liked it. And I was like, dude, Sam Tripoli liked my post, because I knew that you guys had like a beef, but I really wanted to let him have it. I really wanted to give him a taste of his own medicine. And so he calls my dad dead, or still alive, even though I buried my dad. And he said all kinds of evil things that I couldn't get away with saying. They'd kick me off the platform, but he's allowed to say it. So I just did the same thing, who is this and who is this? And Timothy McVeigh and him just happened to match up. So, and it's so funny the people that were reacting to it, because the people that hated it were like, his ears don't line up. And I'm like, none of the ears line up on the Fittest Flat Earthers posts.
Yeah.
And so then I created one of him being a gay. He was being gay, and he had a big black boyfriend. And some people were like, so my wife was like, please don't post the first one. And I was like, I got to. I don't care. I don't care if anybody sees it. Nobody's going to even see it. And then it literally got over 1 million views on social media. And I was like, that is so insane. So I had to create a second one. So I had to give him a big black gay lover.
I mean, we'll get into your dad and what he said about that. He always tells everybody he's like the most real of everybody. Like if you want the real conspiracies, and he never really talks about anything that is of consequence,
right.
Okay, the Earth's flat. We've done 1,000 flat. I mean, we haven't done 1,000, but we've done a ton of flat Earth shows.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, I just don't understand what he's saying, because none of it is like, if you took all the stuff that he talked about and suddenly someone came out and said it's all real, it wouldn't change your life at all. You're like, okay, they're cloning. Okay, there's vampires. There's all this. Okay, all right.
Right.
What does that mean? How does that affect, my kids' education, our culture, our like the price of gas? It's nothing serious ever. And I don't watch his shit. I only know when he pops up and then he's bragging about something that really is, like a lot of people say this. Let's say if Flat Earth came out to be 100% true and we were all like, oh, it's true. No, it wouldn't change anybody's life. Everyone would just be living their same life. Literally, we're so distracted right now. Nobody fucking cares. I love talking about it because I find it super interesting. But it's not like you're doing what I call dangerous. What he's doing is what I call safe dangerous.
Well, it's not even about the flat Earth anymore. It's about who's still alive. It's like that's all his content is, or at least that I've seen. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's like I think he was put there to make all conspiracy theorists or people that question question reality or question the official story make us look stupid, because he sounds so stupid. And so he's just like the main, like, I don't know how he has so many followers. It just blows my mind. I know they're bots that were attacking us and stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun. I loved reading the hate comments. Those are the best. But
well, if he is an inside agent, maybe the list of people he's been picking on is like everybody who's been vetted by the CIA. These are the people that need to be like annoyed.
We should do a third one with Epstein. Like, he's really Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know. I'm thinking about some kind of interesting.
I think you got him with the gay porn. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you really nailed him with that, and that probably pissed him off. But I saw someone try to say that he's Timothy McVeigh and his wife is Terry Nichols.
Huh.
And I don't like going after people's families. I really don't. But he's such an idiot. He's just an idiot. He's like, I'm just used to be a gym teacher, and I just happen to have a CIA chin too. He looks straight out of the CIA. If you were going to cast somebody as CIA, he looks like a guy you would cast as a CIA guy. And people say all sorts of shit. The bigger you get, the more shit people talk. I just don't understand it. And like the connections he makes, like Tripoli, AAA bacon.
Dude,
And
that's so stupid, bro.
What,
So
dude?
dumb.
What?
Dude, I loved it. There's one that he did that I was laughing so hard at, and it was Elvis. I'm a huge Elvis fan, if you can't tell. I have like a whole Elvis wall.
Yeah,
anyway,
I love Elvis. I love Elvis.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah, you would love my wall. But he was going, what is this? And it was Elvis's cape. It was a cape. And so I made a video where I was like, it's a cape. But he kept saying, what is this? What is this? And they were all capes. And I was like, what are you trying to say? Like, he wore a cape. I mean, that was his thing.
What were there other people that wore capes in the comparison?
Was it like James Brown cape?
Yeah, cape.
Elvis cape.
He
Dracula
said,
cape.
Elvis was actually sent down, and he's actually the Antichrist. And I was like, that's news to me.
Oh my God.
What doesn't make
Elvis
sense?
is the Antichrist.
Died in the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?
He died in 1977. And I mean, I get why people would think he's still alive, and I wish he was. Just like my dad. I wish my dad was still alive, but he's not, unfortunately. And, let them rest in peace. But
Elvis,
I mean, good.
How old would Elvis be now?
1,000 years old.
Like 90, right? Something like that?
I mean, he would be older, and all the people that they try to say is Elvis.
91
he's always
today. 91.
So 91. So he couldn't even be Bob Joyce. He couldn't be Bob Joyce, and he couldn't be somebody who was saying Trump. How old is Trump? He's in his 70s, right? That's like the new one that's going around.
The Elvis is Trump?
Yeah.
Trump is 79.
So it's like the ages don't even matter. Like, it's like 20 years. And so I was doing a conference with this lady, and I won't say her name because, she's mutual friends with people, but she kept trying to convince me that Trump was Elvis. And I was like, there is no way. Like, I have photos of them on the same day, and she wouldn't buy it. So it's like, with people like that, there's just no winning. There is no winning.
Yeah, that's the one I have a real problem with. Anytime there's overlap and it's obvious, I mean, people have been in the same rooms together. and they
Right.
don't even. They're just like, oh, okay, whatever. You know?
How about
Right.
Johnny? That a guy, some guy on a yacht, and I have we both scream. So
Oh, yes. Yeah, who
apparently
was
we're
that?
both.
Who was that?
We're
Oh.
I don't even know what he's saying.
Was it the Comet
with
Ping
that.
Pong guy? Was it somebody?
No, it was some guy from some.
Uh oh. We lost you
Did I
guys. Are still
freeze?
here, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I was-
no. I think it's Sam.
I was like, oh man.
Sam, you froze for a second.
Oh, come on,
No,
man.
you're back now. You're good now.
We heard
Sorry.
Comet Ping
There
Pong.
you are.
Yeah.
It was it was a guy on a boat though. That he was just
There's
like,
a
you
yacht
sounded
show
vague-
about rich people who get a yacht and the crew that has to take care of them
below deck. Yeah.
below deck.
And you're him too?
Apparently, there's a guy that has a voice similar to mine,
Doesn't make any sense at all.
and I don't know what he's saying.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
'cause
know what he's saying, bro. I guarantee
You can't be that many people.
Are we? Is he saying we're clones? Like, what is he saying?
I don't know. Every time I watch him, I think he's more retarded. Because the thing is, after I put out the first video, he blocked me. So that was just like, I just won the game. That's a checkmate. Like, okay, what do I do now? So
And
that was
like-
kind of cool. Being blocked was an honor.
So when he made a video about me, I reposted it because it was so funny. And I probably made a mistake because he got views off it and he just kept making more videos about me. You know, he did give me a compliment that I was as big as like Alex Jones, Candace Owens, and Joe Rogan. I was like, oh, thanks for putting me in there. But it's like these connections mean nothing. You know, it's like to say people look exactly alike, right? It is to say that the variety of human faces is so wide,
Mhm.
right? You're like, look at him. He's got two eyes. He's got two eyes.
He's
one
got a
mouth,
nose.
one nose. Look at this.
It's the
Look at
same.
this.
The worst to me, or one among the worst, is the the Alex Jones and Bill Hicks thing, because the ages don't line up. Are you telling me Bill
Yeah.
Hicks, a guy who is as committed to his art as anyone who's ever possibly been in stand-up comedy, it's him and like Carlin right there, just decided to just give it all up, abandon his family, who by all accounts he loved dearly, and live a life as a tortured life as a conspiracy theorist. I mean, it just doesn't make. And politically, Alex Jones, Hicks was a little left. I mean, he was not, and Alex Jones is not left in any way. It's just not.
Except for Blair White, who he thinks is a very attractive woman.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? I mean, it just doesn't.
Looking at you, I see an attractive woman.
And
I was
also
like,
his
yeah.
decline, Hicks's physical decline is very well documented. You know, you can see him on stage very ill toward the end. I mean, it's painful to watch because he's in such discomfort at the end.
But isn't the point of like faking your death? Wouldn't it be to not be famous?
Yes, of
Alex
course, to
Jones is
disappear.
like twice as famous as
Yeah,
Bill
you're
Hicks
totally
was
right.
in today's
Totally.
world. So it makes
Totally
no sense.
right. Yeah, that's my whole thing with Charlie Kirk. To people like, he's still alive. I'm like, it's so much easier just to take them out. To have to set the raid, set up all that stuff is just 10 times harder and unnecessary. Now, back in the day, like in the 1800s, politicians would fake their death because they're just tired of public life. And then they
Right.
could go to some small town and no one would ever know who they were.
Yeah.
Like now it's like, what are you going to go do? Like, where are you going to go? Like you're going to Valhalla in New Zealand and you're going to take this guy that was the center of the conservative world and just put him in a village and he's just going to chill there. And let's say the story about his marriage and the kids is real. He's not going to see his kids anymore.
There's so many weird things about all of that. And man, I think my wife loves Candace. And so she got me to start to watch her breakdowns on it. And it's like I want her to be wrong so bad, but she's not. And then she mentioned my dad, so I have a conflict of interest in that, where she was
You're
like,
allowed.
you know. But it was just super cool, like just, you know, the fact that she's not going, like, we don't need an FBI, we don't need a CIA, and that's why Kennedy was shot. You know, as soon as you start talking bad about, you know, the 3-letter agencies and the 3-letter people, JEW, that's when you die. See?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's harder now. I think it's way harder because everybody knows their game. and they would do it. They could do it to like kind of unknown people, but very well known people. They risk a lot, and like I think their games. Everyone knows their game, but again, I don't even know what this guy's whole thing is. I would love for him to come on. I would love for him to like Wise tell me I'm like a clone. I'd love my mother to come in and talk about giving birth to me and like what that was like. And
Dude, I would love to be there because I could prove him wrong too.
yeah, it's just
Humiliate him. We can publicly humiliate this.
yeah,
dude
that's why he
because
won't
he's a
do it
fraud.
because it's a house of sand, dude.
And he's a
I have
pussy.
offered. I know they're gonna send this to him. Hey, Fittest Flat Earther, come on
faggot.
the show. It won't be. It won't be. It won't be contentious. I would say it's not going to be screaming and shouting unless you say some really retarded shit. But it's. I'm willing to hear your arguments on why I am one of the most intelligent people that ever lived in the history of time. Yet this version that I've taken, that you think I've taken, flunked first grade and reads books with his 6-year-old in which she corrects words that I read out loud. So
Dude,
just
you should
explain
make
it to me.
shirts. You should make shirts of all the people that he says is you. I would wear that. It's like all the different people. It's so
Well,
funny.
Yeah, you could do it like Let It Be, the Beatles
it
album
makes
cover, you know?
sense.
Yeah.
Why he's doing it, because it's the same reason rappers diss other rappers is
You're
you know
totally
he
right.
get- they get each other to start talking and share audiences and
Yeah,
it's
but they don't
pretty
block
genius, really. I mean that's part of the ploy. I mean such an earworm, you know, once he ticks people off and it's really honestly it's a common thing in the conspiracy world where conspiracy theorists turn against one another. And, you know, you have a lot of things like surrounding Candace Owens and kind of people turning against conspiracy theorists is like the new theme in the mainstream kind of like there's a split happening with the alt-right where they're separating out the conspiracy theorists from the people who, you know, believe in a certain ideology or whatnot. And so, you know, we're seeing these divides, but you know, if anything, you know, like I said, it's amazing that he brought up Rob. You know, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Rob Skiba's.
Yeah, let's
work,
get into
but-
that. You know, real quick on your pin that. You're totally right. You always used to hear that the left eats their own, and then I just watch conspiracy theorists do it over and over and over again. I don't like engaging in it. I can't tell you how many conspiracy podcasts I hear just are always like, you know, someone will do their show and they'll be like, I don't think those guys like you. And I'm like, I've never even met them. And the craziest thing about my show is I love giving young up and coming conspiracy podcasts a chance to come on. I've done it with so many people. It's the weirdest fucking thing. You know, who else was it? That Antrix, whatever his name is. He talks shit about me on the internet. I literally tweeted him, come on the show. Let's go. I want to talk to you. It's not going to be contentious. I just want to hear what you have to say. Never hit me back. You know, it's
all I do is tell people to be blessed, and it really makes them mad. I'm like, you know what? We love you, and we'll pray for you. Be blessed. And
I
they
just
get
also
so
go
angry.
with it. Sam's fucking gay. I'm like, so gay. The John Gotti of the
Super duper
gays.
gay.
So gay. The gayest of all the gays. I run the gays. You know, and you just like, and they get tired because they're just trying to get a reaction out of you. Guys, listen, we are in a spiritual war. They want us to stop having sex. And there's one company on the front lines fighting for you, fighting for humanity, fighting for our future, and that is BlueChew. That's right. The future of erectile function is here. BlueChew Gold is changing the way millions of men are having sex in 2026. Their new arousal boosting formula combines passion and performance into one tablet that dissolves under your tongue for super fast onset. Okay, no more waiting for the pill to kick in. Nuh-uh, those days are done. No more moments ruled by performance anxiety, just the results you want, which are angry, rock hard boners, veiny, beefy meat, dude. That's what we're looking for. When you want it, when you need it, Blue Chew Gold is the best for you. Most ED meds only focus on blood flow, but Blue Chew Gold goes further by combining 2 ingredients for blood flow and 2 for mental arousal and connection. So you're not just physically ready, you're actually in the mood. This type of innovation is why Blue Chew Gold is the #1 brand in erectile function, okay? The process is simple. All online. Get started today at BlueChew.com and go for gold, okay? Ladies, do you like an angry dick? One that just comes and wrecks shop? Well, guess what? There's no better place to go straight Godzilla on that ass than Blue Chew Gold. BlueChew.com. That's right. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Sit back and hear this right now. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get a third one for free. A third month for free.
No way.
Yeah, Johnny, it's real, okay? This isn't some la-la fairy tale. We're handing out mean boners here, okay? All you got to do is go to BlueChew.com, use the promo code TINFOIL. That's promo code TINFOIL. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank that Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Rock hard boners for you ladies. Rock hard boners coming. Get some. Guys, listen, real quick. Running a business is impossible. Missed call here, missed call there. Guess what? With our good friends, Quo, the greatest business communication system ever built, okay, you'll never miss any of these calls. I promise you. Let me tell you about Quo. If your business communications are basically a burner phone and a prayer, missed calls, texts nobody answered, customers following up for the 3rd time, it's a mess. At some point, you just hit the wall where you're like, I'm done with this. Let's fucking Quo. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo. That's business communication systems built so you never miss a call.
Here's the cool thing about Quo. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number, so there are no more missed messages or dropped conversations. Everyone sees the full thread, replies are faster, and customers actually feel taken care of. Quo is the #1 business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, built for how modern teams work. More than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on it to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Quo works wherever you are, right from your phone or computer. You can keep your existing number, you can add teammates in minutes, and even sync your CRM and let the call routing handle itself as you scale up.
So, money's on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/tinfoil. That's QUO.com/tinfoil. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. I got some dates. Again, Austin, thank you guys very much. This week, I am in Costa Mesa. Then I'm in La Jolla. I got to put the La Jolla date up. La Jolla, Albuquerque's coming. The 1,000th episode. Miami. Joke World Comedy Festival in St. Peter's, Lawrence, Tulsa.
I love that show.
Gangfest in New Orleans. And then closing out in Austin for the Comedy Mothership. So, got to write some new jokes, dude. I just burnt my whole act, so we'll see how it goes, man.
It's crazy. TruthorCon is right before Skankfest, and I love the what was the comedy one? They do like a sports center, but for comedians. Joke World. I watch that show religiously. Like,
we love them.
Sport.
I have a guy on one of my shows that shit talks because he won't talk about our podcast. I go, dude, we're not big enough. He's just like, I get it. Why would you do that, dude? I think he's great because there's so many shows about stand-up and comedy that, just is mean and nasty, and he generally likes comedians. So I've always said he's the one guy that's going to thrive, and I hope his festival is super duper successful. They're really nice guys. There's 2 dudes. They're really nice guys, and I'm honored that they asked me to do the show. Let's get back real quick to your father. So I hadn't heard this story. I came on, you told your guys' shows, Skiba News Nation, and you guys broke down that this piece of shit is coming after your family. I'm very sensitive. Like, I really don't like talking about people's family. I'm sure someone could dig up a tweet where I did it, but it's kind of my golden rule. I don't go after people's families, unless they're politicians or lizard people, and the kids got into the business, right? Like George Soros's kid, Alex Soros.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tee off on that guy, but I try to leave family alone. That's my opinion. So why don't we get into why don't we tell us a little bit about your father as far back as you can go and start the whole let's just tell us the whole story.
Okay, well, first of all, it meant so much to me that you didn't know who he was, that you knew me for me. And that's the first time that it's ever happened. And I thought that that was so cool. I was like, he doesn't know my dad, because everybody wants to talk to me because of my dad, because he changed so many lives. Like, I get a message, at least one every day, saying how much they changed his life. But I grew up in South Oak Cliff, which is like the ghetto of Dallas. And I only had my mom and my grandfather. My biological father left me when I was 3. And then my mom met a man named Rob Skiba. And I see, I was always protective over my mom, and I would always try to find things wrong with the guy, like I wanted her to be safe, and it's like, I guess that's how it is with, single moms. And I could not find one thing that I did not like about the guy. And he was like the most godly man, the most like, he had a sense of humor, but it was definitely different. He loved your comedy. But he was very into, finding truth. I mean, at the end of the day, it was all about truth. And Jake got to meet him, and Jake is way better at words and explaining. But just as a personal on a personal thing, he was like the dad that I always wanted, and he changed my life forever because of it. And when he adopted me, it meant so much to me, because I always felt like I wasn't wanted, like my mom wanted me, of course. And it's like, you idolize your biological parents as these superheroes, but then you find out that they're shitty and they're all losers. And that's how my dad was. I mean, my biological father was in prison. My mom called him her sperm donor, which I agree. He's kind of a douchebag. He's probably still alive.
You don't have a relationship with him?
No, I refuse to. I was hurt so often as a kid that I used to call him every day till his mailbox was full, back in the day when you had to actually call him. So it meant so much that he
I don't know how dads do that. I just don't understand it. Drives me nuts.
I mean, he knew that I existed. That was the thing. He knew that I existed, and I think that's what hurt me the most. And then he would call me from prison and be like, "Hey, dude, we're gonna do this," and then I would never hear from him. And he just wanted my money. It's like, at some point you just got to cut him off and just be like, like, you weren't there for me. So, well, I forgive you, but I am moving on.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Dude, I mean, there's so many people that go through it too,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But it's just part of life. I think it makes people stronger in a lot of ways, but that's why I was so protective over my mom. And then we met the man, Rob Skiba, who was a videographer at the same company as my mom. My mom worked at a mission organization, and he was just a videographer. And my mom knew that there was something special about him. And after they married, she was the one that actually encouraged him to quit his job and do his own thing. And I always thought that was really cool that my mom did that, because if it wasn't for that, there would be no Rob Skiba. If there was no Sheila Skiba, there'd be no Rob Skiba.
Behind every powerful man, there's a great woman.
And that's that's true. I mean, I don't think I could do half the stuff I do without my wife. And she's great. My wife.
Symbiotic, dude. It's gotta be symbiotic.
Right.
Yeah. So if you guys in the past 10 years have seen Flat Earth media or content, you have probably seen at least some of the work of Rob Skiba. Rob actually published one of the documents that Eddie Bravo was one of his favorite things to share when he would go on like Alex Jones' show.
Rogan.
So Rob was the presentation people would want to go to at the Flat Earth International conferences. And he was one of the most like prolific presenters on a lot of these conspiracies. A lot of people turn off, when they hear the term flat Earth, right? But really, if you understand that the modern flat Earth movement is more so a collection of underlying conspiracies that just poke holes in a lot of the government systems where we've been lied to, and it's more or less a conspiracy of what the world isn't, more so than what the world is. It's not presenting some kind of model. It's more like, how have we been lied to by government programs going back to the moon landing? And so Rob would talk about that, but not only that, he kind of paved the way when it came to Nephilim research. And
Whoa, really?
He was one of the OG Nephilim researchers.
Dude, check this out. This was his one of his. I don't know if this is the male or the female. Do you know, Jake? I have two of them up here, but
that might be the female.
Really, dude?
These were always on his table. Yeah. And I always thought the Nephilim stuff was
now
really
tell
interesting.
everybody that's listening what you're holding up.
I'm holding
An elongated skull.
Yeah, a Nephilim skull, they say. And I can't remember the guy that makes these. Let me get I think the other one's the longer. I'm trying to be careful.
Yeah, Joe Taylor is he also passed away, but he had a museum in Mount Blanco, Texas. Super cool guy, but if you look up old Nephilim photos online, he's the guy who has that one with the big femur bone in his museum, and people are like standing next to it. And it's like this plaster cast femur bone of like a huge Nephilim.
Whoa.
That's him. This is definitely the guy, I think. But yeah, I mean, they're so realistic and stuff, but you don't get this by just a rock. I mean, I remember my dad showing me these, and I was I always tried to prove him wrong when it came to everything, like flat Earth and all that. He would call it biblical cosmology because he believed in what the Bible says about it. But I was like, when I started actually like physically looking at it, there's no way that it should look like this. Like, why does it look like this? It's just so strange.
Yeah, you can't bind your head to look like that.
Right. Yeah.
You can't bind your head. And they're finding, like, especially in Latin America, they're finding more and more skeletons with that skull.
Yep. Yeah. And sadly, I was a musician. I never expected to do this show, the show that we do. And so I'm like relearning all of his stuff and finding that he used to talk about me in certain speeches. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's so cool. Like, I don't know.
That's so nice.
It's an honor to be able to carry on the legacy. And but he was one of the OG Nephilim guys. And Nephilim Death Squad were like freaking out about it. And I love those guys.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're great, dude. We love them on the show.
So I promise I won't kiss it.
He was, he was the OG, the real OGs, before the internet, out there slinging books. I mean, in a respectful way, publishing books, going to conferences. I mean, like, it's like insane how hard it was to spread ideas around back then.
Right. Yeah, it was. I remember it being a struggle. My mom would go with them, and she did great, like, at mingling. I'm terrible at mingling. Like, with people.
I'm too. I have social anxiety and imposter syndrome.
Same. Like, I feel the same way about. I'm really socially awkward, and I think doctors try to call it Asperger's, but I just call myself retarded.
I wish I had something that I could blame it on. That'd be so great.
Yeah.
Dude, Tripoli's weird. He's got Asperger's. Dude.
Yeah.
See, and they changed Asperger's to be autism. And I'm like, I would prefer to be Asperger's because it sounds funny, right? I have Asperger's. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not an adult film line called Asperger's.
I bet there is. If not, do you want to invest?
So he was out there. He's pushing the biblical cosmology. Is that what you call it? Cosmology?
Yeah, biblical cosmology. Yeah, and I remember he didn't want to come out as a quote flat earther because he knew that he would be ridiculed and that people would not take his, work that he was correct on, that I believe was correct on, and it would just like taint his name, like it would just make it. I don't
Eddie
know.
talks a lot about that, about all these people he knows that believes in flat Earth, but they'll never come out public because they think it
I,
would.
I'm gonna say
d-
a name, but I'm not gonna tell you anything about it. But it is about this topic. Kelsey Grammer
the
is one that I
actor.
know. Yes.
That's a flat earther.
I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny, but my dad did meet with him in California when he was there, and I was like, "Oh my god, the guy from Frasier!" And he was like, "Yeah,
Dude, I would pay anything to hear that conversation. And
Oh yeah.
Frasier in that kind of like elitist voice. Not that he's a bad
right,
guy, but he's like kind of that polished voice of a well educated human being talking about flat Earth. I would love to hear that.
yeah, that would have been epic."
That
I
would
wish
have
he would
been
have like
epic, dude.
had his phone in his pocket. He could have just voice memoed it, but I think it was
Yeah.
right before the iPhone. And there are names like that he used to bring up all the time, and I was like you said, Eddie brings it up, and it's like, really, that person? And it's just, I don't know. I think it's super cool, and I like learning about it as an adult because I feel like I wouldn't have appreciated it as much as a child, but I do as an adult, like all of the work, like even from the beginning all the way to the biblical cosmology. And he was just so smart, but he could bring it to a level to where it didn't sound like he was talking over your head. And I think that's why so many people related to him, was because he could explain a hard thing to explain in a very simple way. And me as a simple person, I found that, I appreciated that.
So
But
your father was um going out discussing flat earth,
mhm,
discussing Nephilim, and then the clip you showed me,
mhm.
he started to venture into the bioweapon, the mark of the beast.
I think that was actually before, right, Jake? It was in 2013 he talked about that.
Yeah. So he goes way, he's, not only is he the OG in terms of kind of the conspiracy, he was talking about 9/11 before most people were. And so like he was also kind of forewarning about how medical tyranny becomes the way that people kind of sell their bodily autonomy out. And so he paralleled like 10 years before the pandemic or whatever, how this would be used to bully people around. It would be a flexing of the muscle of this kind of medical beast system, so to speak. And it kind of comes into a tragic full circle because Rob was one of the victims of the protocols during 2021. And so he went into the hospital with a do not intubate bracelet,
And they cut it
refusing
off.
all of this stuff, and just tragic. He was put on a ventilator for 40 days, and we
Do
we believe, and
we have recordings
Jeremiah's
of the
mother.
doctors? Yeah, she wrote a book, but she thought that he was going to write this book because we weren't allowed in for like 40 days and only one person could visit him. That's how crazy the hospital system was. The same hospital that maybe months prior was a place that our family would go, and it turned into a concentration camp. They broke
So
every
hold
code in
on.
the
Let, let
Nuremberg code.
let's break this down. What did he initially go in for?
He couldn't keep his food down. A lot of people just say, like, if you look him up, it'll say anti-vaxxer dies of COVID. But that's not true. He had no COVID at the time of his death. I made my mom do an independent autopsy to prove these assholes wrong. Excuse my French. But I'm sure people aren't used to me saying asshole. But
Yeah, you're loud, dude. You're loud. So he goes in, he can't hold food down. He
right.
gets in there and what he tells him he doesn't want anything, any shots, anything at all.
Right. Yeah. He said that, and he had a DNI bracelet, do not intubate, which is pretty
Which
serious. I mean,
means
when you have
what?
an armband, don't put me on a ventilator. That's what like. I refuse to be on a ventilator because he could have gotten better. He's anti Remdesivir, which is what kills people. And I remember teaching my mom a long time ago how to use an app called Tape a Call. She recorded every single phone call from every single doctor from beginning to end, and wrote about it in a book. She had to change some of the doctor names, but that's my dead man switch. If something ever Mossad ever takes me out, I'm just gonna blast those so everybody can hear. But
It's so
that's-
crazy
yeah.
that so many people have dead man switches and it just does nothing. Right? You remember Isaac Cappy? He had a
Yeah.
dead man switch, and I think it was a bunch of kids in a spa, and it's super tragic, whatever that video is. But nothing came of it. It's just like weird to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were just
actually
talking
don't know
about
where
John
the videos are.
McAfee. John
Oh, yeah.
McAfee too. He dies, and then a whole building complex implodes.
Isn't
The
that
building that he
crazy,
owns.
dude?
An apartment in. So it's pretty
No, that
serious.
happens, doesn't it? They just collapse on accident. I mean, that's just normal life.
And then
Don't
the
question it.
craziest thing is that Dr. Narco Longo was on Jake Shields' podcast and was talking about how the IDF, not Mossad, the IDF was in charge of the crime scene. Isn't that insanity?
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It blows my mind, dude. Completely
Well-
captured.
Well, buildings, collapse all the time, just like Building 7.
Or Building 6, where they just gut it from the inside and forget to take down the fucking walls.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
It's like so crazy.
it's so retarded. Like they think we're retarded, and that's
I,
basically.
I'm getting to
what
the point where I think they're right.
Yeah, me too. I mean, there's certain things that have been happening lately where I feel like I'm the retarded one, but everybody else feels the same way that I feel. So maybe they're the retarded one. I don't really know how to.
We're
put it.
not the retarded ones. We're the actual ones who know what's going up.
Yeah.
The retarded ones are the ones who just don't care. And it's crazy to me because I got called, and they were all in jokes. So I'm not really complaining about it. I'm just saying I was called racist a couple times this weekend. I was called, and they were all in joke form, racist and anti-Semitic. And it's just like, I'm none of those things.
No.
I just don't believe in protected classes, and I just see what's happening. And if you don't want to see because you think if you just conform long enough, they'll leave you alone, it's just never going to happen. You're dealing with a different mindset, which is psychopath, murderer, satanic scumbags. So I mean, I just want to know what they're doing. That's all I'm saying. I I love doing the show. I'll do the show forever. Until Johnny quits. Just tired of fucking dealing with me. But I'm just like, it's just like, what is anyone listening? Does anyone care? I mean, like you had the drummer for the Roots who does the Tonight Show, and he's on a podcast. He's talking about how 10 of his friends have had heart attacks. He's like, what is happening? I'm like,
I
we
saw
all know
that.
it's happening. We told
hokey
you this
pokey.
was gonna happen.
Yeah, that's that one. And see, my dad was talking about that exact thing and warning people. And my personal opinion, and I have to say that, is that he was targeted for what he believed. He was
Okay, so
targeted for the things he was saying.
He goes into the hospital, is there for 40 days on a
My mom couldn't
respirator.
go with him. Yeah, well, my mom couldn't even go in with him. And
Yeah.
there's a she took a screenshot of one of the texts. So there were armed guards at the hospital, which I've never heard of. But the text that she put in there was he told my mom, he said, I don't have an advocate. I need you to be my advocate. And then he says, I'm dead if they do, or something like that. Jake, I might have that wrong. I know it's in there. It's in the book. It's called the protocols that kill, or the protocol that kills.
They gave him remdesivir against his wishes, so they shut down his organs, and they also forged a permission to intubate him, and they cut off the do not intubate bracelet and put verbal, and there's no record of him ever giving permission. So what they do is they take this conspiracy theorist guy who's got notoriety, he's really, making some ripple waves in terms of the anti-vaxxer crowds and the conspiracy theorists, whatever, and then they go in knowing, hey, I mean, it's like they made an example out of him, honestly. And so they pump him full of a lot of drugs. And his case is one of the best recorded examples of this protocol that kills that happened in 2021 that oft many people's loved ones. And anyway, so long story short, he's a legend. He's an influence and impacted a lot of people, and we're just here, carrying on. He really touched my life a lot. We worked together for many years, and me and him shared more of the biblical esoteric, interest in extra biblical books like the Book of Enoch, talking about, how these texts really expound kind of the ancient narrative. Yeah, man.
Guys, listen, real quick. There's nothing more important than your health, and our good friends at Superpower have created a wonderful system that tracks your biomarkers. Okay, and that's why, dude, if you want to give someone a gift, Superpower is the best gift you can give them. Your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, some chick who lives down the street, whatever. It's the best gift you could possibly give, and that's a gift of health. Let me tell you about Superpower. Superpower, they basically believe humans could live 100 years if they took care of their bodies right, dude. That's what we all have that potential in us for sure. You just need to get the right help, okay? In the future, you're just going to be laughing about how ridiculous healthcare was in the back in the day. Superpower is going to change the way you deal with your health, okay? And they're the best at it, right?
Yeah, Superpower will send a licensed professional to your home, or you can visit a nearby lab. It's one simple blood draw with more than 100 biomarkers, which is way more than what you usually get, and it's a way to unlock a real understanding of your body. Their app includes detailed info on your heart, liver, thyroid, hormones, metabolism, vitamin and mineral levels, and even environmental toxins. So from disease prevention to treating that annoying brain fog, or simply optimizing your gym game, Superpower is the most comprehensive and advanced system out there. Superpower doesn't just give you a one-time snapshot, though. That's the thing about Superpower. It tracks your results over your lifetime. Each test is another data point, builds on the last, so you can actually see progress year after year instead of just starting over every January. Superpower used to cost $499, but right now it's just $199 for the full experience. That's more affordable than anything else out there. Other testing services charge $500, $1,000, sometimes even more for similar or fewer test results. Know what your numbers are with Superpower.
Make this the year you stop guessing about your health with Superpower. Not only did Superpower reduce the price to just $199, but for a limited time, our listeners get an additional $20 off with code TINFOIL. All right? Head to Superpower, just like it sounds, spelled just like it sounds, .com, and use the code TINFOIL at checkout for $20 off membership. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. So make sure to mention this podcast to support the show, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. So when he goes now, let's go. If we think he's targeted, right? And I've we just had Johnny. You remember the lawyer that you had on that you love from YouTube? And
Yes.
how
John,
he said
John Bryan, yeah.
he said he went into court and he instantly knew they all knew who he was.
Yes.
So my question becomes, like, obviously he's from the area. He's probably well known. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. My mother at one point had a conversation with me during COVID that she was upset, and I love my mom and she's so supportive of me, always been, it's like I flunked first grade. They probably were looking for the receipt to go get store credit on me, but she's always been she always loved me regardless, but when there's no expectations, anything is good, right? But she had a conversation with me about how, she's hearing a lot of things that I'm saying, and and that's in a small town in upstate New York.
What do you mean by that? What?
My mother had a conversation with me because my father was a wild man and didn't have the best reputation in town. And she got really upset because she felt like she was defined by my father. And then she said she didn't want to be defined by me and that she was wanting to be her own person. And that hurt. Because, And my mother loves me. There's no
This
one loves
early
me.
in your career or more recent?
No, this was like during COVID.
Okay.
You know, the podcast is cooking with gas,
That's crazy.
and everyone's talking about it. You know, it's like Dana's family's having talks with her about things I'm saying. You know, everybody's having these conversations.
That's so fun because my family loves any affiliation with this kind of stuff. They love it. It's
Yeah.
fun to
I
do.
mean, you know, Dana got in huge fights with over the whole jab. And like, I don't know why she never listens to me. Dana loves me. I love Dana. But, you know, like she listened to me on COVID. She didn't get the jab. And thank God. And but you know, like my brother who's here right now, who I love with all my heart, you know, he was like the Paul Revere of like vaccines. He's like, the vaccine, the virus is coming. The virus, you know. And I could tell funny stories. I love my brother. He's a
That's so
wonderful
funny.
human being. But you know, so the reason I bring that up is like he's probably known in the area.
Well, and we have proof. I think my mom recorded it. There was a nurse that said, I know Rob Skiba," and that's what she said. And it's like those are the kind of weird things that were surrounding the case. Like,
So I just want to ask one quick question. Sorry to cut you off. The initial thing that makes him not hold down food, do you think there was something with that?
well, see, he was at a conference and he didn't want my mom to go for whatever reason. He just had bad vibes about it. But there were so many people at that conference that came home sick with COVID, and some of them ended up dying, right, Jake? I know at least two of them did.
Yeah, yeah. So it was right around that time where anybody and their brother who went into a hospital for anything was
No, this was
put
at the
through
conference.
extensive. Yeah. So, you know, Rob, you know, he obviously went in with something. I think it was just the fear mongering that was going around that got him in the doors. Really, that's the one thing that I think Sheila said she regretted was ever bringing him to the hospital to begin with, because as soon as they got him in the doors, he wasn't feeling well. They took him back, and that's the last time she saw him for, you know, weeks and weeks. And by the time she saw him again, you know, he's on the vent. So,
I think where he was, there was a bioweapon involved. Like there was something weird going on at this place. We even had soil samples done. Like we really went hard to see like
Oh,
what,
really?
yeah, like what happened there, because everything about it was strange. And friends turning on each other, people that were there turning on each other, and it was super sketchy. My dad said that he didn't end up giving his last speech, so me and my mom ended up doing like a version of it in honor of him. But he said that there was a weird, crazy woman in the audience. And I was like, I mean, that's weird, right? I mean, like that normally doesn't happen in any of the conferences that he went to. And it was just weird stuff that was happening. And I don't know, it's like a gut feeling, like in, you know, when you get the wrong vibe. It was, I mean,
What
it
is
could have
this
been.
link?
yeah, so it was really tragic because Rob had been working for 10 years on a animated conspiracy kind of The Squad meets X-Files series, and he had got this pilot episode funded and filmed. And so the year that he died, he got a ton of awards in the mail from a bunch of film, you know, like competitions that he entered this pilot episode into. And really, it kind of encapsulates his whole vision. You know, Rob's whole purpose was to reveal the truths of some of these ancient biblical, you know, extra biblical books, and he wanted to do it through a series called Seed the Series. And you know, hopefully, you know, one day, you know, we'll be able to get all of his manuscripts and still be able to create, you know, his vision with this. But like, if you guys wanted to check out this, he's got like it's got Nephilim in it. It's a whole thing, and you know,
How
this
long
was his
is it?
like,
About 9 minutes.
Can we watch a little bit of it?
yeah.
Son?
Click to the end of it. Click on down to the end of it. You guys will see.
Well,
the,
his channel is not monetized because he's had medical misinformation in one of his videos that was from 2013. So he can't even monetize it. So
yeah, maybe click
won't
back
have any
maybe
issue.
a minute, a little bit more. Yeah, right there. Yeah, so Rob wanted to kind of take a lot of these truths of Genesis 6 and the fallen angels and the Nephilim. In fact, the famous Kandahar giant image that you'll see when you search, Google the Kandahar giant, it's actually a still frame from one of his comic books for this series.
Oh, really?
Yes. So he is the Nephilim guy, and this was his vision, and hopefully, we'll get this thing made. But let's go ahead and just play this. You guys will see kind of his vision for using media to, share some of the Nephilim
If
stuff.
you're listening at home, I'll put the link in the description so you guys can watch it if you're listening and you're not watching the video.
So this is the Solomon Island.
Jake, that kind of sounds like you.
Yeah. So, that, you can pause it there. Obviously, Rob, if you have ever looked into the Book of Enoch or Nephilim research, he was one of the guys that very early was talking about this Book of Enoch connection, and it kind of threads through a ton of his work. But yeah, man, it was a super bummer. He got like all these awards for this pilot episode after he was kind of murdered in the hospital, and
They were still coming in. I mean, we had got one like maybe a month after he died, and we murdered. It's like what I like to say, because my mom made a pretty good case in her book that it was murder, but in the state of Texas, they all get immunity. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
Isn't that crazy, dude?
It's just so like retarded.
Even if you like follow the New York State where like they were calling Cuomo a killer, grandma killer, all they did was blame it on ventilators. But like, because that shields Remdesivir.
Yep.
Right? They want you to blame the ventilators and not the pharmaceutical drugs.
Right.
And they've been doing that forever. And everybody who died in the hospital. And these people were just like gleefully, because they were making so much money.
Oh yeah, they made so much money, and the whole reason why my mom even wrote the book was because she wanted him to write a book because he was the author, but she ended up doing it because she had nothing left, and I think that's what ended up killing her. In the end, was she just didn't take very good care of herself, and she died of cancer. I was so blessed that she was able to make it to my wedding, and I'll always be grateful to God for that, because I don't know. There's a part in there in the video where you can see her crying, and I was like, wow, she knows that I'm going to be okay. Like, that's what I saw in her eyes when she saw me and my wife. And I'll tell you a crazy story. This is a true story, and we have video of it. So I never believed in signs. I never believed in any of that stuff. I thought it was all, orbs are just dust, right? So I didn't think, signs were real. And one day, me and my mom were talking this before she passed, and I was like, so will you ever send me a sign I brought it up. I was like, if I ever die, I'll come back as a blue jay, and you'll know that I'm cool, like I'm good. And she said, okay, well, if I die, I'm gonna come back as a butterfly. And she didn't really care for butterflies. Like she wasn't a butterfly. She didn't have butterflies on anything. It was just so random. So when she died, December 12th, so 12/12/24 is when she died. Um, it was December in Texas and it was cold. It was really cold. And I remember we were all sitting there right before it started, and a freaking butterfly landed on her flowers. There is no way, like it made no sense because there were no woods around. And even my grandpa, I mean, he swears that it was sent by God, like, or sent by my mom. And it's just so, I carry this. This one is made out of feathers because one came in the mail, but like I keep this near me because I don't know. It was just like in that moment when I should have lost all faith, in my opinion. Like I was mad, but I wasn't mad at God or anybody else. I was mad because of the situation. She was always a health conscious person. She always believed in, eating right and doing all this. And I don't believe in any of that anymore. But I was just angry. And so I turned that anger into righteous anger. Like I turned it into something positive. If I just tried, because, if you are just sad all the time, you're not going to get anything done. You won't get the message out. You won't be able to do anything. And so when that butterfly landed, man, it really made me, it did the opposite of what it was supposed to do. It made me never forget my faith. Like, don't forget there is something after this life and you're good. And I mean, like that, it couldn't have come from anywhere, dude. It's so crazy.
That's a great story, man. Thanks for sharing that. That was great,
Yeah.
dude.
Thanks
So-
for letting me share.
So, when I did your show, you showed a clip of your dad. He was at a conference. I think it was in 2013. Do you have that? I'd love for people to hear like the little piece you played me.
Yeah. Jake, I think has it. I'll pull it up.
And this
Yeah,
is
let
him
me
talking
see.
in 2013 about
Uh-huh.
this,
And
which
he was
is
demonetized for this video. For
yeah, they were doing
2013
that
video.
early, huh? It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And
But other people can post it. Why can other people post it?
yeah, it's like you've seen that right now. Johnny knows this. It's like people talk about the same things we're talking about, getting hundreds of thousands of views,
Right.
and it is that tombstone algorithm that doesn't forget the OGs who force YouTube to change their policy because everyone was leaving.
Yeah. Are you a Waylon Jennings fan by chance?
I do like Wailing Jennings.
I am.
So like outlaw country.
Yeah, I love outlaw country.
That's
the best
why-
country.
During our interview, I called you an outlaw comic because you're like in a different category. It's so cool. Like it's awesome. And that's why I think your audience will always be there. And I like to consider myself a outlaw truther because I'm not your cookie
Johnny,
cutter,
you're out.
know?
Jeremiah, you're in.
Yeah. This we're seeing this now, and you shared the audio too, right?
Okay, let me just make sure. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is the same clip.
It's not the
Sam.
same clip, but I'm
It's not.
fine with
It was a
whatever you want.
prophecy club.
Okay, I'm having trouble pulling up the. If you want to show this a little bit of this,
Yeah,
I'm
for
not sure which
sure.
one this is, but I'm sure it's good. All right, let's see here. Can you guys hear this?
People who have done
Yes,
timelines
yes.
specifically related to the pre-flood world with the patriarchs. So, as well as my own personal research on it, I came to the conclusion that the Genesis 6 experiment took place in roughly 3550 BC. So not too long. If you believe creation started at roughly 4,000, some say 3,900-ish, it's not too long after the creation that we've got this event taking place in the days of Jared. Jared's name means descended. They named him because that's when the angels descended, in the days of Jared. So if my calculations are correct, that took place in 3550 BC. One of the reasons why I do not believe in multiple incursions is because I don't think that Genesis 6 even remotely supports it, even in the verse that people use. For instance, especially if you take into the account of the testimony of the book of Enoch, landing in the days of Jared, you end up with the Nephilim were in the earth in those days. What days? The days of Jared. And also after that, what is that? The days of Jared. When the sons of God came unto the daughters of men in the days of Jared, and they bare children to them, the same, now this is important, the same ones that the author's talking about, the ones who were born in the days of Jared, were the mighty men that were of old. And the Hebrew word there is olam. Olam's translated 136 times as forever and 110 times as everlasting. In other words, very, very long time ago. So the same guys that Moses is talking about were from a very long time ago. They became the men of renown. And the reason I'm focusing on Olam there is because Moses is writing this about 800, 850 years after the flood. He would not have used the word Olam to describe the Nephilim that they just saw in the land of Canaan just recently. The same became the mighty men that were of Olam, long, long time ago. When you read in the book of Enoch about the severity of the judgment of the watchers who participated in this experiment, you get to chapter 68 and you see that Michael, the mighty archangel himself, looks at the severity of the judgment that is being imposed on the watchers, and he turns to Raphael, and I'm going to paraphrase, dude, wow, no one's ever going to do that again. And if you read it for yourself, I'm not going to take the time to read it just for the sake of moving forward here, but it says that he's looking at this, and it says that he's trembling because of the severity of the judgment that he's seeing. And later he says, man, nobody else is going to do this in the bottom verse there. Those guys are receiving such a severe judgment that for another angel to see that and then commit another incursion, they'd have to be dumb and dumber on acid, in my opinion.
So he's talking about when the Nephilim came down and mated.
Pretty severe. So I want to talk about what I believe is the Genesis 6:4.
So Rob in this is breaking down how he believes that the Nephilim that came after the flood came through one of the wives of the sons of Noah, because the punishment was so severe for the watchers that came and took wives in pre-flood kind of history that they were terrified to make the sin again. And so there was this different class of Nephilim before the flood, which is more akin to the Titans of Greek mythological lore. And these were like the giant, skyscraper beings. And these were what were wiped out in the flood. And after the flood, we have X chromosome giants, which is related to, in kind of the pop culture reference, like X-Men, right? The females held the X chromosome that manifested into these giant beings. And so Rob kind of he chases it down the line of Ham, and it's really interesting. But it's all kind of comes into today's light with CRISPR technology and how AI is unlocking the genome.
100%, dude.
So
100%.
This is so important. It's because he was pointing out how so the Bible says, as in the days of Noah, so it is in the coming of the Son of Man. And when you kind of interpret what the days of Noah were, it was a time of genetic corruption as well as sin and depravity and whatever. And so what you see is in today's world, it's not only a moral degradation, but it's also a reintroduction of genetic corruption where man tampers with the genome and we insert our image or our likeness or we become creator, we become God, and it corrupts the original genetic code that's been passed down from eon to eon. And so Rob talked about this, I don't know if you guys want to.
I looked at that and I thought, wow, what if that's the formula? What if corrupting the image that God created and called good and very good leads to opening forbidden gates that brings about the creation of Nephilim? Everybody likes to use the definition of Nephal, or from Nephilim comes from Nephal, to meaning to fall. But as we see in Strong's 5307, it has a number of other meanings besides just to fall. I think all of them are appropriate. I think when we think of the term to fall, that's a reference to something being corrupted and falling from its original state that God called good. When you corrupt that, you've fallen from that state. Did you follow that?
All right, so that's probably most of what was in this video, but
I totally agree with that, dude. And I totally agree with that's what they did with this mRNA and CRISPR, is that they just completely shish kebabbed so much of our DNA.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, people don't even know what they were putting into their body. How scary is that? It's like you're just lied to again and again and again, and you want to believe them this time, but one more thing comes up. It's like it's a scary thing to think about, like how often stuff like the bee happens. I don't know if I can say vaccine on here.
Yeah,
I'm
you
trying
can
to
say
clean it
whatever
up.
you want.
Yeah, but it's a depressing world out there. So that's why I love comedy, and I love what you do, because it's always important to laugh, even at the craziness of the world, if you will. I mean, it's just, I don't think I could have gotten this far without comedy, because it makes you feel. A lot of stuff doesn't make you feel anymore. It's all like you're too afraid to offend somebody, and like, I'm done with all that shit. Like, I don't care if I offend everybody now. So comedians are like the last great free speech people, and I really respect you for that, and I
We're
love
the
that.
jesters, dude, and they're trying to kneecap us really bad. And I see it everywhere. Comics are the first to censor other comics.
Mm,
Comics are the first to conform. Comics are the first to like openly talk about how they don't want to know politics.
right.
And I listen, there's a spectrum of comedy. I totally get it. And on one end is pop comics, on the other end is outlaws. But man, the pop comics just hate the outlaws.
Right.
And it's just, again, it just does not matter how bad it gets. They just want to conform so the opportunities come. And I just think it's a dangerous thing. And it's okay if you don't want to be that guy. During George Carlin, there were pop comics too. But the,
Yep.
the outlaws were revered. Now they're
Right.
hated. Now, it's like we're so emotionally retarded now that hate is more powerful than real world consequences.
Yep.
And this Chud the Builder thing, I'm not a fan of Chud at all. I hate streamers. Their whole thing is to fuck with people for views, and I think it's a dangerous thing. But what's really dangerous is setting a precedence where words are green lights for violence. And now this comes from a guy who showed up to someone's house when they, you know, said some things about his kids that were beyond inappropriate when they were 1 years old. But I see that as totally different. And Diaper Boys fans are just retards who don't know the difference, don't actually know what freedom of speech is, and they just keep using that, and they have no clue what they're fucking talking about. And but I see that as totally different than, because I get called everything, gay, faggot, tranny chaser, N words, you name it.
You get the N word? That's awesome, dude.
I do love it. You should
I
go to
wish
my
I got
website.
called the N word. Yeah, you had a really good joke about it.
I have a bunch of them.
It was one of my favorites. But
Johnny,
dude,
you're muted.
It's like half Sam's act. This
Half Sam's
N-word.
act. Half Sam's act. We'll see how people react to this special. It should be fun.
I can't wait.
dude,
I
and
can-
I'd love to promote it. Like, I'd love to help.
When it
help
comes
you
out, I'll come
any
back
way
on
I
the
can.
show. But you're totally right about comedians. Mark Zuckerberg, the woman who's no longer with us at YouTube, who died from turbo cancer, because these elites will take out each other too. They don't give a shit.
Wasn't it amazing that you can say whatever you want now? And the guy's a Muslim, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the guy that's now in charge is Muslim. So you can say anything anti-Jew.
Or he's Hindu, and they all worship Shiva,
And they
who's
have
the
little
god of
shit-throwing
destruction,
parties.
and they're sensitive too. It's like you worship a god who is the god of destruction, and you're sensitive about jokes. Like, what are we fucking doing here?
They're leaning off the reins because they know our time is short in terms of AI being able to crunch the numbers and rein everybody in. So I think they're just like, all right, we weren't ready yet in 2021. We had to crunch down on all these conspiracy theorists, but pretty soon, I think they'll be able to use AI technology to really crunch the numbers. And I think it is really interesting how comedy and also music are like these bastions of freedom of speech as we enter into 1984 world. And there's almost like a parable parallel with how comedy like is like telling truths, and the most dangerous truths are the truths that change people. And so whenever you're telling stories that people laugh at and they learn a lesson from, they're going away with wisdom. And if there's like that ancient Greek philosophy called humorism, and what do comedians bring? They bring humor, and humorism is the guy who would find real world truths in all of the ancient lore of like, the Greek pantheon or these different gods. And so he takes those stories and he relays the information so that people can learn, I don't know, through parables. I don't know what it is, but people are more apt to listen to what you have to say if you make them laugh or if you sing them in a beautiful melody, because they don't like just being told what to do. That's why nobody's going to church. They don't want to be preached at. They want to be entertained, and then they want to come away with the gems and jewels that you kind of gift them through whatever you're talking about.
Sam, one thing I forgot to ask you when you were on our show is what are your thoughts about the Rei Comedy Festival? Because I did a breakdown on it on our show, and it was like crazy. Like it was insane, the people that signed up, I don't know if you feel that way.
My opinion is if you think, I don't think that Saudi Arabia was a big part of 9/11. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
for sure.
I think they were just a fall guy because they're part of the British Empire and they're told to take the fall. I'm not saying they didn't have something to do with it. I'm just saying they weren't the planners or part of the execution of that day. But my opinion is I don't know how Pete Davidson went and did that.
I know, that's crazy.
I don't know how he did it.
Maybe he's a 9/11 truther. Who knows?
Well, I wouldn't go to anywhere that, killed my father.
Right.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
My dad was a crazy person. Bill Burr, again, if you want to get the bag, go get the bag. I don't give a shit, but it's like, it's kind of I don't know, man. What is your take? You got Jessica Kershaw, who's like one of the funniest comics on planet Earth, and she's gay, Jewish, and she's going there. Like, how does that work out? But again,
Right.
it's a gig, I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I don't know. I think, there was so much hype around it that they wanted you to feel one of two ways, really. And just how quick somebody could sell out was kind of frightening, because then you can't really trust the truther comedians, but then when Tim Dillon was fired, it kind of made it kind of okay. Like I was like, oh, that's funny that he just exposed it all, kind of. And
Well, he was right. It's like, hey, dude, you guys are like chopping off hands and
Right.
throwing gays off things, but hey, man, it's a big bag. Give it to me. But it's
Yep.
just like, here's the whole thing. It's like there's obviously over there censorship, and you
Right.
have people who were crying about the legal system and the court system and law enforcement in America, crying about the political apparatus of America going over there and taking money. And, it's just like, it just lets you know that there's no principles. The same thing with the NBA. It's like you're crying about Black Lives Matter and then you're just deep throating China. It's like, well, it's no principles, dude. There's no principles. And they're all just playing a game. They'll say anything that they think that the elites of Hollywood want to hear. There's no principles. And I think our show, that why Tinfoil Hat's about to celebrate the 1,000th episode and our 10-year anniversary,
Congrats,
is
man.
because
Nice.
we've been pretty honest with everything. I said this to Johnny when it was going on. I wouldn't go there. It's not for me, and I know my comedy isn't going to work over there. So why even set myself up to get thrown in jail?
Right.
They're not going to be into Sam Tripoli dropping N-bombs in the middle of a fucking show, or
That would be great, though. I'd watch that.
I would watch that too, as long as the plane is started and I have a quick exit to the fucking
Right.
airport,
Right.
but I would, that's why I wouldn't go. My comedy wouldn't work there. But if you believe that they were part of 9/11 and you went and performed there, you know, that says something about you.
Yeah. The Pete Davidson one did kind of like weird me out because I'm sure he's not like a 9/11 truther, but I mean, his dad died in one of the buildings, right? So it's like, it's just insanity. I
It
don't know.
is
Was it
insanity, you know?
just for money?
Yeah, it's like what is your, you know, you got Bill Burr going off on Rihanna and Beyonce for performing for third world dictators. Then he just takes the check, and then again, it's like you can go do whatever you want, but if the end of the day you think they attacked America, what the fuck are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
That's my only thing. It's like if you think they attacked America, you know, it's like the same thing with these people from Israel, these influencers who are taking $7,000 to tweet. Like, what are you doing? And again, it gets into how everybody thinks I'm this hate monger. And you know, it's like these basic bitches think I'm a hate monger, and I'm the least. I love everybody. That's one of the biggest reasons I loved LA forever. It was like the diversity here. You can get a taste of any culture you want. It was a perfect blend of that shit until the rich kids came around and destroyed it all because they weren't good enough to compete with the fucking savages. So they ran out all the savages so rich kids could have fucking play patty cakes, and now nobody watches their bullshit. And they're slowly trying to pull us back. That's why they have all the Rogan people on Netflix, is because they will bring back everyone that left Netflix.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. And the LA no longer pushes culture. That's why it's dead.
Yeah,
You know, there's nobody provocative anymore. I'm public enemy number one. I was just did a live slop. Those are my live streams on Instagram about how like nobody asked me to do anything in LA. Nobody.
Why do you think they're so scared to have comedians like you that are actually trying to inform people or just be funny in a politically incorrect way? Like that's crazy. Like if I had a comedy club, those are the kind of people I would want to have. People like George Carlin or like you, or you know, even Norm. He was more clean, but he would still get the truth out there.
Oh, he was a savage, dude.
Yeah, I Norm.
Because it's everything's about conformity, dude, and they're conforming to an institution that is dying. They're worshiping a dead throne, and it's like I got a movie getting made at the end of June, and it's like the truth of the matter is, guys, I had to go outside of comedy to get anything going in comedy. Like even like the Legion of Skanks guys are the only guys who asked me to do anything. So the guys in New York show me more love than the people in LA. And I was telling everybody this. I'm the reason why any comics get paid any real money in LA.
Wow.
Comedy Chaos was the first one to pay people really good money to do a 15-minute set. There were comedy clubs in LA paying people to do in the packed comedy clubs $7.50 to do a set.
Crazy.
I changed all that. I did. I forced everybody else to start paying, and then they just the whole middle of the Comedy Store lineup at one point was everybody I got in. You know, and I'm public enemy number one. Nobody asked me to do any of their shows on Netflix. If Comedy Store hadn't booked me on shows, I wouldn't have done anything during the Netflix as a joke thing. And that's what it is, a thing. It's not really a festival. It's
It's
thing.
a club. Yeah.
It's not even
like
a club. It was just like, hey, put Netflix's logo on your flyer. I mean, they were having shows in bowling alleys. You know what I'm saying? And hey, dude, I love shows in bowling alleys. I grew up on that shit. You know, but at the end of the day, nobody asked me to do any of their shows. I never get asked to do anybody's shows ever because it's all yeah. Well, I'll come on your show all the time. But the point is, it's like it's just rich kids. It's what the Unabomber talked about, what Malcolm X talked about. Rich progressives are dangerous.
Was right on point. He was right on point.
100%. I should get that as another tramp stamp, my second tramp stamp. The Unabomber was right.
Let's get matching ones. That'd be cool.
I have one. It's a champ stamp. It's for my dead friend. But yeah, they don't ask me to do anything. If it wasn't for Legion of Skanks and now Joke World, I would never do a festival. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I go to Texas within, like, everyone hears I'm there. I'm booked on every show instantly. I go anywhere else. I go to Dallas. I meet you guys. You book me on your show. Doesn't happen in LA. Never. All my friends have I have to go to Texas to do all my friends' shows. None of my buddies put me on the show.
Dallas. Come move to Texas.
I would move my kids to Austin tomorrow if I could. It's like I'm not choosing to be in LA at all.
Right.
It's not. I just some things are. Sometimes you're not the king of your own castle. Yeah. I'm a field mule, dude. They just throw me out in the fucking field and tell me to hoe. I'm a hoe.
I was so honored that you had my book the other day, my children's book, Charlie's Big Adventures, because it was just so cool that it was able to get to you, because the whole idea behind it was to get the next generation of truth seekers, like just to make them think outside the box. And my wife is a teacher, a public school teacher, and she disagrees with a lot of what they teach in the public schools, but she teaches the gifted and talented kids to think for themselves, because I feel like that is not common anymore.
That's the most dangerous.
Yeah, and I think she kind of likes it, actually. Likes being
dangerous. They don't want that, dude. Yeah. They just want you to fucking just conform. Everything's about conformity. And again, it's just like, if you like the world you're living in and you're not paying attention, you kiss it goodbye. And you're not going to conform your way out of this. Yep. You're not going to conform your way out of this. You can, and like humans are like animals. Whatever pen you put them in, they adapt to it. Give them a giant field, they're going to roam. But eventually the pen just keeps getting smaller and smaller till you got pigs in a fucking pen in these industrial farms. And they're like, yeah. I saw someone tweeting, there's no way there it's a real person, had to be a bot. It's like 15-minute cities sound great. Everything I want within walking distance. I'm like, oh, you please be a bot. Please be a fucking bot. I mean, you're just absolutely crazy.
With all the data centers, nobody cares about the environment question anymore. It's like,
you're so right, dude.
Who's coming after the tree huggers now? Nobody, because they sold their souls for AI.
Yeah, and it's just like these elites, they feel no consequences.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Trump just lets them do whatever they want. It's kind of sad because,
well, Trump. And I said this before, I lost friends who grew up in the New York City, New Jersey area, and they would only talk about what a piece of shit he was forever. They're like, he destroyed Atlantic City. And then, they went bankrupt and the Rothschilds came in and bailed him out. And they just saved him for this exact moment. The Apprentice was a setup to look at him like he was a leader. You're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Like they were setting him up as this powerful individual.
Yeah. Do you think the Butler incident was a warning shot? I mean, I don't know how they would have just got the ear, but that's the one thing that kind of makes me think.
I don't think they got anything. I think maybe they shot the guy behind him just so there was chaos. I think he cut his hair.
There's no scar. I mean,
there is a scar. He cut his ear, dude. It's like pro wrestling shit. It's a Kabbalistic ritual of servitude.
Yeah, that's like politics now. It's like what is after Trump? Like, there's no big like names, that I don't know that anybody could get behind, and it's crazy that the MAGA movement started with America First to America Last, and that's where I'm kind of like, well, I just don't understand, like, why you sold everybody this, but you're doing the opposite. Why are gas prices so high still?
They're made up numbers, dude.
Yeah.
The gas we're pumping right now was pulled out of the earth a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The refining takes forever.
Is
So
it
they just
expensive
make
there?
up
Where
a
you?
fake crisis and crank it up just because they want to. It's like, dude, just give us nice things and we'll calm the fuck down. Can we just have nice things like houses and fun drugs like that don't kill us, make us
Yeah.
schizophrenic?
Only you would put that on the priority list for survival.
I mean, dude, Johnny, if you had all these things where you were making good money, you could afford anything you want, you could afford a house, you could do all these things, would you be like, dude, they're doing all this? You'd be like, dude, I'm chill. I mean, give us the 80s.
I mean, it might be what you said, though. You talked about this a few times, the version of the Matrix where everybody is content. It just failed. We need strife, to progress.
I mean, it's possible, dude. I mean, but my whole thing is like, I got called an accelerator or whatever it was. What else?
What does that mean?
That means I'm just one of these people trying, accelerationist where I just want to crank it up. But part of me is like, let's get to it. Like,
Right.
as long as we have fat homeless people with iPhones, no one's gonna do shit.
It's a time. There's a timer of souls, I think, is how it works. There's some text in an extra biblical apocryphal book that talks about Sheol filling up with a set number of souls, and once it reaches this number, it spews forth its inhabitants. And I think that's really what's behind the abortion thing. Is you'd think abortion is all about the devil wants people to sacrifice their infants to Moloch. And I know I've heard you joke about, right? But I think it's actually not just to kill people. It's actually to slow down the population growth. Because if you think about all of these children that don't grow into, puberty, they're not going to propagate. And so it slows down Satan's quote unquote timer for, all of the, the end times events to kick off. And I think that's kind of why.
Hold on. Because that's very interesting what you're saying. Are you saying that the elites are trying to stop it from getting to that number?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to accelerate to that number?
Well, I think it's, if the elites or whoever worships and operates for these ancient ideals of Baal or Moloch, then they're trying to extend the amount of time until the world judgment has to manifest. And what the text, like Second Baruch talks about, there's a set number of souls that Sheol is like promised. And once it fills up and hits that last soul, then it all these things kick off. And so I think it's possible that Satan is trying to slow down the time frame before all of mankind is kind of accounted for. Because what my perspective of reality,
super interesting, dude. That is super interesting.
Because I think reality, what it is it's a womb for souls, and it's like a testing grounds for the precious gems. And so as the people propagate, they have babies, the ticking sand clock counts down, and that's why we have the conspiracy to keep generations of youth from growing into adulthood. And it's the same conspiracy all the way back, in ancient days. So, yeah.
No, okay. So we hit this magic number. Let's say it's 10 billion, whatever it is. We'll say 10 billion people. What happens then, according to this ancient text?
So I think it's Second Baruch that talks about how the souls will spew forth, and it's kind of leads up to the day of the Lord concept of the culmination of all things, the punishment of Satan, quote unquote. And it like parallels all these other apocalyptic end of days time frames when this set number is achieved. And the book of Enoch also talks about.
Whoa, dude, that is super interesting. Whoa. Can you send me anything on that?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can send you something.
I would
I'll read you
love
the-
to read more about that. That is very interesting. So if we hit a certain number, then Satan gets judged. Is that what you're saying?
So check this out. The quote that I'm bringing up is Second Baruch 23, verse 4 through 5, and it says, "Because when Adam sinned and death was decreed against those who should be born, then the multitude of those who should be born was numbered, and for that number a place was prepared where the living might dwell and the dead might be guarded. Before therefore the number of aforesaid is fulfilled, the creature will not live again, and Sheol will receive the dead." And then in 2 Baruch 30, verse 2, it says, "And it shall come to pass at the time that the treasuries will be opened, which is preserved the number of the souls of the righteous, and they shall come forth." So there's like this ticking clock of the souls of mankind, and it's also parallel to the number of righteous souls that comprise kind of in a like a metaphorical sense the temple of God, because the Tower of Babel wasn't just about bricks, it was about people. And when enough people are gathered that have an ideology, they're considered it's kind of like a node on a mesh node, and there's like the competing systems of righteousness and the beast system happening right now, and in terms of this kind of interpretation.
Johnny, what do you think of that?
It reminds me of Dawn of the Dead, where that guy Peter is. It's like, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. That's what.
Yeah.
I'm sure that must be an allusion to.
So I'm going to try to dumb down what you said so we can all understand it. Is it that once we hit a number of souls, that Satan is judged? Is that what you're telling us right now?
So there's multiple layers.
Break
to
it
this,
down,
of course.
stupid. Break it down really dumb.
So there seem to be these indicators, time indicators, in a lot of prophetic scriptures. And what I'm referencing in Baruch is it talks about how there was a set number of souls. And so I was linking that to the modern concept of why abortion. Well, abortion keeps generations and generations of people from propagating, which means the trickle of the souls of mankind is controlled. It's the tap that's slowed down. And so with that said, there's also other prophetic numbers that have to be reached for end times events to be fulfilled. Like in Revelation, it talks about how this angel goes, "Hold up, don't let anything else happen till, there's a seal placed on the foreheads of the saints, so to speak." And so that's another numbering that has to happen before the whole world calamities and the prophesied destruction happens. And there's a really interesting parallel with end times kind of prophetic plagues and destruction and the exodus from Israel in the book of Exodus, because end times actually parallel in a lot of ways the 10 plagues of Egypt with what happens in Revelation. And so there's a fascinating tie with these numbers of souls. And another book that talks about a set number.
But once we hit I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, because this is blowing my mind. Does Satan get judged after that number of souls?
So it kicks off a series of events, I think, chronologically. So it's not at that moment, but it's at that time that Sheol spews forth the dead. There's also an interesting possible zombie apocalypse allusion in the book of Baruch, which is fascinating as well, that you can point to one of these ancient apocryphal texts and say, hey, did you know there's a verse that kind of alludes to zombies in the book of Baruch? Really fascinating.
Baruch is an extra biblical text, right?
Yeah, it's an apocryphal text. It was still included in kind of the Catholic Bible in the apocryphal section. But, another text that talks about very interesting concepts of numbering is the book of 4th Ezra or 2nd Esdras, which in chapter 2, it talks about a interesting number of individuals that are sealed in a feast. And the feasts it's talking about are the Leviticus 23 Hebraic festivals. And it also talks about, so it's like a parallel to the terminology you've heard of the 144,000.
Yeah.
So this is the number of 12,000 from each tribe of Israel that's sealed. And it actually feeds straight into one of the more important topics that Rob Skiba would talk about called the Ephraim Awakening. And the concept that in the modern context, Jews represent 2/3 of the tribes of Israel, which is Judah, Benjamin, with Levi sprinkled in. They retain their identity after the dispersion to Babylon. But there was 10 other tribes that dwelt in the north that during the Assyrian captivity were spread to the four corners of the earth. And it's this kind of prophetic event where they lost their identity that it parallels like this whole conspiracy era we live in with a lot of Zionism and the greater Israel topic. And without going too deep, the 10 tribes are also synonymous with the term Ephraim, or the sons of Ephraim, which were one of the sons of Joseph, and they represent the fulfillment of the promise of Abraham. So as these tribes spread to the four corners of the earth, they lost their identity and thoroughly mingled with almost every tribe, tongue, color, and nation. And so these northern tribes lost their genetic kind of identity and culture, while the southern tribes, Judah, retained it. And so in a lot of ways, it's tied to the kind of the promise of Abraham, where his seed would become as numerous as the sands of the sea and the stars of heaven. And so I think that's what's really fascinating about the concept of like these righteous souls being numbered is literally it according to
Dude,
secular
that is
geneticists.
really interesting, bro. That's
Dude, I can send you some
real.
of my dad's stuff if you
Yeah,
want.
dude, send me all that shit because that is interesting to me.
Awesome. Yeah,
Because I think all this shit that's going on is so astroturfed. It just doesn't seem legit to me. That
Yeah.
like maybe because as I was young, I would think the end of the days would come in a natural progression, but it seems like old extremist magicians are trying to pull a Broadway play on us
hmm
to have the end of days come,
Yeah.
but a theater of the end of days, not the actual end of days. Like what you're saying makes way more sense to me.
That's one of the ways I think we're being manipulated is they're interpolating themselves into prophetic events and roles, and that's how they control and convince people. And there's a whole slew of bad theology and doctrines that we've inherited. And it's up to people to kind of do their own homework and figure out what is distracting, what makes me believe and think a certain way. And that's why it's hard to have conversations with people about like the Bible nowadays, because people are very dogmatic. People are very
Yes.
defensive. There's 40,000 denominations, and everybody has their 2 cents on how end times will play out, on what, this belief or that belief has to be. But we also live in a very interesting time where, because of technology, we literally have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in all of our pockets. And so, decades and decades ago, you used to have to go to a seminary
Yep.
and read multiple languages to
Yep.
interpret into these ancient texts. And now, with the power of, yes, also AI, but, all of these different concordances and research coming out from the Dead Sea Caves, we can validate and do our own subjective kind of study. And that's why I think it's so important to consider all of these expanded extra biblical apocryphal texts, because there's nothing else really answering the question of the alien incursion and the UFOs and the breeding programs that are being revealed that answered in a biblical light, other than books like the Book of First Enoch, which was like, this has happened before. It's that's why I think it's important to look into all this stuff.
That's so interesting, dude. I could listen to that all day, dude.
Well, I thought it was so cool when we first saw you. You brought up Nephilim, and I was like, I had never heard somebody like a comedian bring up like Nephilim, and I was like, that's pretty cool that he knows like Nephilim. Like just stuff like that.
Yeah, we
I'm
gotta
glad you find it
trickle that
fascinating.
shit out, dude. You know, you can't go because when we started the tinfoil hat, we went hard conspiracies. People like even the conspiracy people. So you had to kind of mix in, you know, regular jokes with conspiracy
Yeah.
jokes, so that they, you know, they want to laugh and they also want to hear some shit. But dude, dude, what you guys just talked about is just absolutely mind blowing. Because that makes more sense to me than anything else. It's like if you stop the amount of people coming in, you don't hit this number where the actual end of days kicks off, and then the devil is judged. That really clicks with me. I want to learn more
Yeah.
about that, dude.
I'll send you some stuff for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting, you know. But yeah, there's definitely a
Jake's
lot
my
of
Bible expert.
fascinating. Yeah, I'm into the real esoteric, you know, extra biblical apocryphal texts and
I
all
love
that kind
all
of
that
stuff.
shit, dude. I
That's the best.
like I love. I went to church. I want to go again. I've been slammed so many Sundays. I haven't been in there. If I ever got to a point, I would probably stop doing the road and you know, you know, recognize the Sabbath and all that shit. I would love to do all that, dude. I'd love to do all that. I want to do that really bad. Um, but all this stuff, like, you know, the church I went to is great. One of the listeners is a pastor there. Wonderful guy, good dude. Had a lot of fun there. I like the environment. I like hanging out with people and hearing,
Are
you know,
you are you on Discord?
I think I'm on Discord. I don't know, Discord. I think we
Well,
have some Discord
my
shit.
my dad started something called the Virtual House Church, and they all get together and like read from these texts, these extra biblical texts, and they talk about the Bible and stuff, and they do it every Sabbath. And it's pretty cool because it's like they're people that are there, but they're digital, so you could be wherever and hear it. And sometimes I just turn it on
I
just to
would love
listen.
that. Send me a link. I'd love to check it out.
I'll send you a link, dude. It's pretty awesome. It's
I
yeah,
would
it's
love
fun.
to look at that, dude. I love this shit. You guys can come back anytime, talk more about this shit. I would love to hear all of it. Final question, you guys. I don't want to keep you all night because I know it's late where you are. Um, you know, when you talk about the Book of Enoch, you know, there are people out there that talk about how that book is kind of was put out to kind of like mess with Christianity. What's your guys' thoughts on that? I don't know if I worded that correct, but they you know, if it's not in the Bible, they don't want to follow it. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the Catholic Church took a lot of that out because I don't know, maybe there's too much truth in there.
Yeah. I mean that's a big problem I have with organized religion
Yeah.
is like the hidden hand that has manipulated it.
Yeah, so we should
Yeah.
trust
So
the religion that hides pedophiles. Like that doesn't make any sense,
Yeah,
right?
that's totally. And you
And
know,
that
that
helped
was
the
a
Nazis.
manipulation, just like they do with politicians. They
Right.
corrupt the brand so nobody trusts it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's the age old kind of spoil the reputation. But I think what's significant about the Book of Enoch is there is for sure found the first 30 chapters, 30 plus chapters in the Dead Sea Caves. I know the Book of Enoch extremely well because I made a audio drama, kind of like an audio book with music and stuff on the Book of Enoch. So I did a whole bunch of research on it. There was actually a full Aramaic copy of the Book of Enoch found in the Dead Sea Caves that was bought by a private collector in Great Britain. And the reason this is very significant is, you know, the Dead Sea Caves predate, you know, they're hundreds of years older than some of the other manuscripts we've been using. And so the Book of Enoch was found in the Dead Sea Caves. It also is one of the most messianic apocryphal books there is. Like, there's so much language in it that alludes to a messianic figure like Yeshua. And what's interesting about that is if it is found in a Semitic language, then this very, very messianic prophetic book would be able to be considered by Jewish people as a possible scriptural text. And so that manuscript is very interesting, very important. The Book of Enoch also is sequestered because it's one of the only ones that expounds on where demons come from. So we have in the New Testament recorded stories of demons being cast out and going into pigs and all that kind of stuff. Well, the Book of Enoch's the only place you get in ancient lore that describes the demons are the disembodied spirits of Nephilim giants, that these beings were never intended to exist, and so when they died in the flood, they were left to roam the earth as demonic forces. So that's one bit of information that they don't want people learning about in the Book of Enoch. Mm-hmm. It also is very clear about the fallen angels coming down, and in seminaries there's something called the Sethite theory, which interprets that the sons of God that come down were actually the sons of Seth. But whenever you really study into it, these sons of God and daughters of man create these enormous, monstrous titans and giants. And so it doesn't really make sense, the Sethite theory. And the Book of Enoch kind of proves that that's not accurate. And also the Book of Enoch is contained in one of the oldest Bibles there is, the Ethiopian Coptic Christian Bible. So it's preserved in the Ge'ez language. And
are they the ones that had the Ark of the Covenant, allegedly?
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, man, they don't want people talking about it because also it gives a religious ancient aliens explanation to UFOs and aliens and the Anunnaki or whatever. And I think a lot of people want to veer away from a biblical explanation, and they want to veer towards more of a New Age kind of esoteric ancient aliens kind of interpretation, a Zechariah Sitchin style interpretation of these Anunnaki that come down and mate with humankind. But we can't, as people that possibly look at the Bible as some preservation of truth and the historical record, there's the parallel of these fallen angels getting the daughters of mankind and creating Nephilim giants. It parallels the stories of the Greeks. It parallels the Egyptian pantheon, the stories of the Hindu gods. And so it kind of gives a clear biblical kind of explanation to where a lot of these narratives come from, that is, contained in so many different cultures.
So interesting to me. I love all this shit, dude. I need to dive deeper into this stuff. I believe I'm a man of Christ. I love Christ. I'm trying to clean my life up to the best of my ability. I have old wiring and vices I'm dealing with, but I'm trying. But man, I love this stuff, dude.
Well, Jake and I will get some stuff together and send it your way, dude.
Please do. And when is your convention?
It's November 7th is when we're doing the comedy, the night of November 7th, but it's November 7th
and 8th. November 7th in Dallas. I will put the link into the description if you guys want to go. If you're in Dallas, hey Dallas, get off your asses and go support the conspiracy community. We're out here fighting for your souls.
Yep, and we'd love to have you headline. That would be so epic.
I'll do a three-way with you and Dana. We could set it up, man. One more time, tell them where they can find you guys.
You can find us at Skiba News Nation on every platform, on YouTube, on Rumble. I'm surprised they still let us on YouTube. And then if you want to follow me, I'm either J Skiba Official or Jeremiah Skiba, because there's another Jeremiah Skiba out there, which is crazy. But he's a friend of mine on Facebook, which it's kind of funny story, but yeah, that's how you can find me. And Jake.
Yeah. I'm of course, Skiba News Nation. And if you guys want to check out my music, I do music too, Sam. So I have a music video I shot at the inauguration of Donald Trump at the big arena last year. So if people want to check that out, go to my YouTube channel, Jake to Human, and you'll see my cool little music video there.
Jake, I'm surprised you didn't film at Aurora.
Well, we got those clips, a couple months ago, so people will see our next little adventure coming out soon.
Well, send me all the links. I'll include them in the description, guys.
All right, man. I appreciate both of you guys.
Hey, man, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you guys. It was absolute banger episode. Open door anytime you guys want to come on. Look forward to seeing you in November. and let's break it down. All right, Johnny, what'd you think of the boys from Skiba News Network?
I didn't know he was the guy who did that Fittest Flat Earther video. We had showed that on Broken Sim, and it was he did such a great job. And now
He
that
really
I know
is
his
a nice
background,
guy. You
what a
can
great
tell
guy.
he's genuinely a nice guy.
100%.
They're both really good guys.
Solid people. Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm so sad about his dad.
I'm also that's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Right? That's heartbreaking shit.
Yeah. Anybody who's dealt with any kind of parental health issues knows that it's just a whole different level of
It's
misery.
so hard, dude.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Truly. And then when it's something like that, where there's also like, injustice, like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, how many people die? No one gets justice for that.
Yeah. Every day, every single day in hospitals and in doctors' offices and in surgeries. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, dude, I trust the doctors really because they're the third highest cause of death in America. We're not just talking about they lose like medical malpractice.
Yeah. And shit that wasn't necessary half the time.
I lost my grandma to that. She was convinced to go get her bag that she had to go get it fixed, and she never came out.
Ugh, it's
Horrible, Johnny. Horrible.
Yep.
But Johnny, how about that mind-blowing stuff at the end Jake told us? What are your thoughts on that?
I love anything
the
like
amount
that,
of souls, and then the end times get kicked off.
I'm fascinated by it. I mean, there's so much spooky stuff just in the standard biblical text, especially in the Old Testament. Do you know the story of the witch at Endor?
No.
Yeah. So when he was about to fight a war, and Samuel. It's in Samuel, right? And who is it? Is it Saul? It's King Saul, right? And he's getting ready to have a war. And he has outlawed necromancy, which is like mediums, people who use familiar spirits to communicate with the dead. It's been outlawed. But he's so insecure about his position going into this war. Instead of praying, he goes and seeks out a necromancer called the Witch at Endor and convinces her to bring up the spirit of who is it Samuel? Yeah, the prophet Samuel. And so she brings up the spirit of the prophet Samuel, who just dunks on him. He's just like, nah, dude, you shouldn't have done this. This was a mistake. And now everybody's going to die. All your family's going to die and everything. I mean, just the worst news he could get. And that's exactly what happens. His everything goes to shit from that moment because he saw.
Oh my God. Do you think it's because he talked to the spirit?
Yeah. And there's debate in mainstream, like Christian, like theology about whether he actually did contact the spirit or whether it was a demon that he was communicating with. But yeah, he's eventually, the idea is that he's punished for not seeking God, but seeking wisdom from a dead person. But yeah, the Witch at Endor, isn't that just the sound of that?
Great name for a band. Horrible person to talk to.
Yeah. Which is, that's what that planet, the forest moon of Endor and Star Wars is where, the Ewoks are and all that shit.
Yeah. That's when you said that. I'm like, isn't that Star Wars?
Star Wars. Yeah. Endor.
But what do you think about the notion of so many people then the end days hit?
Well, there's got to be something that it triggers it, right? Like the end of times. Why not that? I don't know.
It's so crazy, dude.
I immediately, I put the brakes on whenever an apocryphal text comes up, but I don't discount it. I certainly don't discount it. It's possible. Yeah. But I love that kind of stuff. I love reading. There's no prohibition against reading and being, investigating and trying.
I find that shit so interesting, dude. So interesting. Johnny, if you go to samtripoli.com.
Yeah, dog. Let me do that right now.
samtripoli.com.
It's a great website.
It is a great website. People be talking.
I heard
People
everybody. I was just walking
be
down the street the other day, dude. and
talking.
I was walking down the street the other day. I overheard some people talking about samtripoli.com.
Oh my God. Blessings, Johnny.
Blessings. Yeah.
Blessings.
They were
Get
like,
on my email, dude.
It was two 20-year-old girls, and they were like, "Have you heard about samtripoli.com?
Fat Hog Tripoli.
The hottest new website."
The hottest. People are into it, Johnny. Come on. You got to admit that. You got to admit those thumbnails are fire, dude. Please stop
I
fighting.
love that hero thumbnail. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, buddy. SamTripoli.com. All my dates, all my premium contents there. Cash Daddies. Talk about the Cash Daddies Patreon.
Yeah, we have a weekly podcast, and then associated with that weekly podcast is a Patreon where you can communicate directly with us. We do a weekly Q&A, and Howie is an expert. He used to work on Wall Street, and he, every week gives people suggestions on potential investments and feedback on, retirement, preparing for that, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's just a good way to get together with like-minded people and prepare for your future.
I love it, dude. And if you go down far enough, real quick, Dying Laughing's my favorite doc on stand-up. I'm in it a lot. Chaos Twins had a big call today with the Paranoid American. We're getting that going. Go down t-shirts available. I got new t-shirts coming out, gold and silver. We love them. They sponsor the show. Check out WiseWolf Gold and Silver. Harley Ray.
That's at samtripoli.gold, by the way.
samtripoli.gold. AquaCure Hydrogen Brown Gas. Harley Ray for candles, crystals, and sage. Chemical Free Body, my favorite supplements. I bang it all the time. Joel Staley, if you want to get in shape. By the way, my brother is in such great shape. I'm now just energized to lose fat. I weigh almost 50 pounds more than my brother, and he still thinks he can kick my ass. EMF rocks for dirty electricity. Prometheus, if you need a decentralized website, and Brain Supreme. I'm sure if XG was here, he would tell you he's on it. I'm on it, dog. I'm on it, dude. And that's it. Johnny, do you want to promote anything?
Yeah, New Broken Simmons out. We talked about the fishiness around the Thomas Massey primary results, and then we got into why Chelsea Handler sucks. And we had Jason Ellis on the show, your friend.
The great Jason Ellis. We love him very much.
Very cool
And
guy.
I just dropped a new 15-minute, I don't like to call them specials when they're 15 minutes. I call them opiate for the asses of 15 minutes of crowd work. Now, before you start yelling about how much you hate crowd work, I just shot my special. It was Crush. Hopefully it'll be out sooner than later. And it is written jokes, okay? But
Do you have an idea of when that might be out?
No. Okay. I have no clue. I'm excited to see it, though. Lewis was like, dude, this is going to last on YouTube for a day. I'm like, I got to be me, dude.
Oh, really? Did he say that? That's so
funny. He was joking. Costa Mesa, Albuquerque, Austin, Miami, St. Petersburg. Also, go to the next one.
Yep.
Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa. And then before that, TrutherCon on November 7th in Dallas. Skankfest in New Orleans, and then finishing out in in Austin at the Mothership. So, Johnny, final thoughts. What'd you think? Great episode, huh? Did they kill it or did they crush it?
I would say both of those. They crushed it first.
Was it a kill crush?
They crushed, then killed, I would say. You don't want to crush something after you kill it because that's just gross. But
that's just a little too much.
It's excessive.
It's a little excessive, dude. I thought it was great, dude. I thought it was an absolute banger of an episode. I'm totally into that biblical stuff. Again, you talk about the Bible, everybody starts to get weirded out. And you're like, what are we doing here? And there's a lot.
I don't know why.
Because it's just the brand has been destroyed so much on purpose by sorcery that people don't want to believe it. And it makes them accountable for their actions. So they don't want to believe in that. They just want to sit in their vices and enjoy it. And it's like, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of things, about like what are real sins, what is going to cost your soul that I have a lot of questions about. I do believe a lot of the sins are about high vibrational actions versus low vibrational actions. And the more chaos you cause, the more chaos you bring into your life. And, at the end of the day, are you helping people? That's why I really do believe.
I do. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Well, we're hurling towards our 1,000th episode. And hopefully you guys will be there for us. We love you all very much. Thanks for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it.